Hey y'all, Lisa here, Family Foods, and welcome to day 2 of Healthy Budget Nourish Bowls. And tonight, we are making some beef stew Nourish Bowls. And you might be wondering how to make beef stew into a Nourish Bowl, but I'm going to show you. And if you've been following me, you know, I don't know, last week or something, I opened my fridge. This was during the holidays, had some red wine sitting in the refrigerator. And I said, stay tuned because probably going to make like a stew of some sort with that. I loved braised red wine. It's excellent. And I won't need all this red wine because it's a big bottle, but I'm going to freeze it. You can freeze red and white wine very easily. So I'll show you that. I'll just use what I need from it, probably like 2 cups or so. And then I'm going to freeze it. And it's excellent for beef bourguignon or I love coq au vin with chicken, and it's just a regular beef stew. It's fantastic. Also, right before Christmas, on the 24th, Dave and I scored big. Our grocery store was closed on Christmas, and they must have just cut a ton of meat. I don't know. We got such a great deal on ground beef, and we got the stew here for $2. So, we're going to make a nice beef stew. Stew meat in general is usually going to be your cheapest route, and it's fantastic when you cook it low and slow. It is so tender, it melts in your mouth. Just look for sales, guys, and something like a beef stew you can stretch so far, because we're going to put some carrots in there. We're going to put a little potato, which is classic. You'll see, I'm going to show you how to make it. I'm going to get everything prepped up, and I'll show you how to make the beef stew. And I'm going to put some onion in there. Here's that rice from last night's Nourish Bowl. That's going to go on tonight's Nourish Bowl. We've got some mushrooms. I thought I'd do maybe like a sauteed mushroom, lentil, and pea mixture. Something like that. Again, we're going to put legumes and beans and nice, healthy, hearty grains and things like that in our Nourish Bowl every evening, because that's going to bulk it up and fill us up and cut the cost down. These are the salad greens that David washed up yesterday, so probably put a little salad on there, but just wanted to kind of lay out everything here, and I'm going to get it all prepped up, and we're going to get some red wine braised beef stew on the stove. And if you wanted to make this vegetarian, you could do this, instead of meat, you could do this with all mushrooms, and instead of beef stock that I'm going to use, you can use vegetable stock, so you can make this completely plant-based as well. But let me get things prepped and we'll go from there. Alright guys, gonna start this beef stew. So I'm gonna do it in a cast iron pan. You could use it on any pot on the stove. You can cook it in the slow cooker. You can cook it in the pressure cooker. It doesn't really matter. And you really can't mess up stew meat because you just want to cook it till it falls apart, till it's tender. And you can just taste as you go. That's what I do. It's hard to say an exact time when you're cooking. That's why just a little bit here, a little bit there, and just go with the flow. But I got all this meat cut up. That looks beautiful. I cut in like, stew meat will come already chopped up, but I like to put it in smaller pieces. Again, when you don't have a whole lot, I mean, this is a little over a pound of meat. It looks like a lot to me. It's going to shrink up. But cut it small, then you get it throughout. And bulk up with the potatoes and the carrots. I'm just making enough for David and I for tonight, especially with the carrots and the potatoes. And I might just freeze the beef for another time, because I know we're not going to eat all that. But I got the potatoes and the carrots. I just prepped them up, soaking in some water. So that's cut up. And I got my onion diced here. I'm going to start off by, I'm just going to use a little cooking spray. This meat is fatty enough. You can put a little butter in here. You can put a little bit of some olive oil or vegetable oil. But again, I try to avoid using those things whenever I can, especially at home cooking, because you really don't need it. So I'm just going to kind of sweat these onions. It's all going to cook. They're probably almost 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours. Got to cut the meat small. But I just want to kind of sweat this out a little bit. I had some fresh garlic, but I had that in the fridge for a while, and it wasn't looking so hot, so I'm going to put some garlic powder. But we're going to let this go for about a minute or so. and then I'm gonna add the meat. All right, so these onions just went for like really just a minute or two. I'm going to go ahead and add the meat. Now, some people pat it dry. Some people floured all this and that, brown it ahead of time, put it back in. But it's just from experience from cooking. You don't have to go through all that trouble. It's all going to be cooking away for a couple hours. It's going to be in red wine and beef broth. You're not going to really tell too much. It has a beautiful little crust on it. So you can do it if you want, but I just dump it all in. I'm just going to season it with a little salt and pepper here. Okay. Go light. I'm going light on the salt because we don't like a whole lot of salt. And I'm going to put a little bit of beef bouillon cubes in there, so that is going to add a nice flavor and sodium content. A little bit of garlic powder. Fresh garlic would be great, but powder will do. Okay, a little stirry stir. Now I got the temp on like a medium high. I could probably crank it up a little bit now. So I've got it on high for right this second. And I'm gonna put in two heaping tablespoons of some tomato paste. Tomato paste is great, but you only need a little bit at a time, so this can be frozen too. So I will be putting that in the freezer in a little Ziploc bag. I'll show you guys. That way I can just break off a little piece next time I want to use it. But I'm just going to kind of mix all this together here. And then I've got some all-purpose flour. And what that's going to do is it's going to help thicken the sauce. So some people, like I said, will coat the beef in the flour, but I just kind of do it this way. So I'm going to put in 2 large tablespoons of flour. And just get that all mixed up here. Nothing to it. I'll probably cook this right on this directly on the stove, but you can actually cook this right in the oven too at like 250 degrees, low and slow for a bit. Not even think about it. So I got that in there. I'm going to put in 2 little bouillon cubes. Those are supposed to make like a cup of broth. We're going to add this wine. I'm going to put probably like 2 cups of wine. I'm just eyeballing it. Give it a little stir here. And wine is fantastic to cook with, guys. You don't need to use, some people say don't cook with anything you want to drink. I buy inexpensive stuff when I'm using it to cook. So you can drink with something more expensive, but I don't waste the money buying something really too high end here, but something that tastes good. And all the alcohol will cook out. So you don't have to worry about consuming any alcohol. And all these little bits of the bottom for that tomato paste, that's all going to loosen up. And it's going to be very, very flavorful. So I'm going to put a little more wine. Again, when this cooks, it's going to be great. So that looks about right. Put 2 cups of wine, and because I added the bouillon cubes, now if you had chicken broth, beef broth, then it would already, you could add that instead of the bouillon, but I'm going to add some water because they were little bouillon cubes. Okay. And I'll probably add a little bit more water. Actually, I can use this. I rinsed off the potatoes and the carrots real well, so this is actually clean water. But I'm going to let this, I got some fresh herbs here. I'm not going to add the potatoes and the carrots just yet. I'm going to let this kind of get nice and hot, maybe cook for 30 minutes or so. And then I'm going to add the carrots and the potatoes so they don't, fall apart too much. Just a little rosemary and thyme I happen to have outside that I grew myself. If you didn't have fresh, you can just add a little bit of dried rosemary and thyme. I love thyme especially. If you didn't have it, don't worry about it. No biggie. So that's that. I'm going to let this just kind of come up to a boil, and then I'm going to reduce the heat down. I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to let it go for 30 minutes, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. I'll add the potatoes and the carrots. Just wanted to show you guys this. So here's the tomato paste. And I like to freeze in Ziploc bags and kind of press them flat like this because they take up no room at all in the freezer, and you can just stack them. And when it's real thin like this as well, like if I didn't need all of this, I could just break this. And when it's frozen, it'll just break right off. And I can use as much as I need from it, and it'll stay fresh for a while. So make sure you put everything in your freezer, guys. The freezer is my best friend. Also, too, the red wine. So probably, I mean, that's still a good bit of red wine here. Just make sure it's in a container that has a nice lid, and it's sitting on a shelf that is not going to get tipped over, because wine will not freeze solid. It will freeze, but it'll be more like slushy-like. So, you know, there's a chance that it could leak out if it like tipped over. So just make sure it's on a shelf, but it will freeze beautifully. And like I said, you'll see me pull this out for another probably Nourish bowl of some sort and use it. So don't let your wine, if you've got an open bottle of wine, red, white, doesn't even matter. It's great for this time of year for braising in. And again, you won't even taste that alcohol. But anyways, just want to show you this. I'm putting this in my freezer, and I've got the stew here. It's just on a nice low temperature. Look at that. It's only on 2, but it's bubbling away. I'm going to give it a little stir here. It's looking good, though. Might even turn it down a hair. And if I need to add a little more water, I'll put a splash of water in there. But I want it to be nice and kind of thick and coat the meat. I'm going to get started here on the mushroom lentil mixture, so I'll show you that in just a second. Now we are going to make the mushroom lentil mixture. If you don't like mushrooms, you could just cook up some lentils. You could put some green beans in here. You can make it however you like. There is, again, no right or wrong way. If you don't want lentils, you can just open up a can of beans. Try to get some kind of legumes in your meals if you can. They're just so beneficial, full of fiber and protein, and they really fill you up. And it's just very healthy, and it adds a nice little variety as well. So just work with what you got here. I happen to have some lentils. So I'm doing half these mushrooms. I just kind of gave them a little bit of a chop, the bigger ones, so they're kind of like bite-sized pieces. They're going to kind of cook down to nothing. I got the other half here, and I'll put that in the fridge. They had mushrooms on sale, which was nice, and carrots. I'm just going to put a little spray in here. I got my pan pretty hot just to kind of saute these mushrooms just a little bit. And then I had this in the fridge for a while. It keeps for a long time. It's pretty much just all sodium, but it's better than bouillon. It's just a vegetable broth. So you could cook this in water. You could cook this in vegetable broth. You can cook this in chicken stock. Whatever you got in the house. Use water will work just fine too. Just season with a little salt and pepper, or you can put some herbs in there. Again, no right or wrong way. Now, I'm just going to let this saute, cook down just for, I don't know, maybe just like a minute or so. It's all going to cook together and they're going to get soft. So again, you don't really have to spend too much time sauteing them, but just like that is good. And then I'm going to put in, I can always add more, just a little bit of this bouillon stuff, because again, it goes a long way. Maybe like a good teaspoon of it. So, depends on how much you're making. I'm just making enough for David and I. I'm going to put in some water here. Steamy. And I'm probably going to put in, maybe like a third of a cup of lentils. Okay, I just eyeball, guys. But you can just look up a recipe how to cook up lentils. I mean, you cook it like rice. So I've got this. I'm going to turn this down here. Okay, because it's boiling. And lentils, well, if you never had lentils, you want to eat them like a bean. I mean, you don't want them hard and you don't want them mushy. So that's how I cook there. Little mushrooms, little lentils. I'm turning this down. I got it. I'm going to put it on, actually, I'm just going to put it on 1 because it's boiling. I'm going to put this lid on it. And I'm going to check it in about 10 minutes. And if it looks like it's soaked up too much liquid, I'm going to add a little bit more. But you guys will see how to cook. You'll be master chefs by the end of these 30 days. So the beef stew has been cooking for about 30 minutes. It looks fantastic. Look at that. The meat's not tender yet. It's got to go for a bit. But it's looking really, really good here. It smells excellent. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the carrots and the potatoes in there. It's just one kind of medium to large size potato. And I did 2 carrots. I did that oblique cut if you saw me cut for the $2 a day one. I like that little cut. And let's see here. Those potatoes are going to kind of soak up all that gravy and whatnot. Look at that. So I'm going to check on it. It's probably might need a little drizzle of some water, a splash or so. But I'm just going to put that lid on. Again, I have this on a very low temperature. It's probably got at least another hour. I'm going to let it go, but just low and slow. You'll know it's done when the potatoes are soft and the carrots and the meat starts to just, you take a bite and just melts in your mouth. So I got everything in there. Now I'm going to put this lid on and we'll checky that in an hour. I've got the lentil mushroom mixture. Probably started a little too early, but I can shut it off and then just kind of reheat it. But again, I'm sorry guys, I don't measure a whole lot. I just go with my eyes and go with the flow here. So you can see this is not even close to being cooked because I can tell by the way they look. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of water in here. So I'm going to add a little bit more water. Okay, again, I got this on kind of low temperature. And I'm going to put the lid back on, and again, I'm just going to check it in about 10 minutes or so. And then when it's done, I'm just going to turn it off and leave it covered, and I'll wait until I'll heat it back up closer to when all this is done. All right, look at these lentil mushroom mixture. It tastes fantastic using a little bit of that broth, and you get the mushroom flavor in there. They're perfectly cooked. It took about, it's going to take somewhere around 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. It depends on how high the heat is. But, you know, it's looking a little dull in color, and this is going to be a little dull in color. So let's spruce it up a little bit. If you had a little bit of fresh parsley or some dried parsley, or if you had some kale, I have some green onions from the garden, so I just took 1 green onion. We went there today, and I picked some more lettuce and green onion. So I'm just going to, this is just sitting warm. I'm going to put the lid back on. But I just added some green onion, and I thought about adding the peas to it, well, which you could. But this already looks like probably more than, I think we're going to have a little bit left. And I got a really good idea for tomorrow's dinner. So I think I'm going to keep it like this. But I just want to show you that. Let me open up this beef stew here, give it a little stir. It's looking great. Again, it's only on 2, but it's covered. Ooh, look at that. Wow. I didn't add any water. I want it to be kind of nice and not thick, but a little bit of a gravy consistency. And that is looking good. Still not done yet. We'll know it's done when the potatoes are nice and soft. See, I'm pressing against here, and well, I could kind of break it, but it needs probably needs another half hour or so. See that meat? I can start to kind of break it a little bit with the spoon, but again, it's not done yet. It will just fall apart. That's how you know. And if you did have too much liquid, what you want to do at the end is just leave it uncovered and just let some of that water evaporate and it'll naturally thicken. So I'm going to put this lid back on. Not done yet, but it's looking good. And the stew is ready. I tasted it. Had David taste it. It is perfect. I just adjusted with a little salt and pepper. The meat is nice and tender. Such a good flavor. So easy. And if you wanted to serve this over mashed potatoes, just leave out the potatoes and make some mashed potatoes. I mean, you don't even have to put any vegetables in. You just do the beef, but very, very good. If I had a little bit of parsley for a little color, you know, if I was making it for company or something like that, I would throw that in. But it doesn't really need it for flavor. I'm going to go ahead and plate everything up, and I'll show you exactly what it looks like. Y'all, look at this plate. So this is how you take something like beef stew and just kind of stretch it out a little bit, okay? Whatever you got in the house, there's no right or wrong. So I've got that leftover rice from last night. Put that down. I just kind of separated the beef. It's kind of on top of a little bit of the rice. And I got a mound of potatoes and carrots here. Got the frozen peas. Again, whatever vegetable that you have. I got the lentil mushroom mixture there with some of the green onions. And then I've got some fresh lettuce from our garden with some cucumber. I didn't really have too much left to do on there, to put on there. But just keep it simple. Just keep it. I try to put something fresh on there. If you didn't have any greens, you could put some sliced cucumber or some tomato or anything. Just something maybe a little raw and not cooked, just to break it up a little bit. But again, no right or wrong. And I'm just going to put a little bit of oil and vinegar on the salad dressing, maybe a little balsamic vinegar and olive oil, and that's it. So I'm going to turn the camera around here and we'll give it a little taste test. All right, y'all, sitting down. I'm going to do a little taste test here. David just getting out of the shower. He wanted me to tell everybody hello. He's still feeling a little under the weather, so he'll be down in a second. I thought I'd just go ahead and end the vlog with you guys. Let's see here. Where to even begin? Oh, so delicious. So I've got some of that. Trying to get a little bitey with everything. And there's plenty of that gravy. You don't want to let any of that gravy go to waste. I still got plenty of food in there. There's definitely enough for 4 people. And this is a hearty portion. I mean, look at that. There's David's plate. I mean, that's a lot of food. And there's definitely there for seconds, too. That beef just melts in your mouth. Absolutely delicious. And this lentil mushroom mixture, I mean, you can eat it with some peas and stuff too. Really tasty as well. So anyways, might not be your typical Nourish bowl, but to me this is a fun way to eat, and it's a great way to use up any leftovers. But you guys know, to me that's the easiest way to throw together something. It's already put together. It's already there. Don't waste it. But thanks so much for watching day 2, which is all going to be in a playlist. I think I titled it Nourish Bowls or something for 30 days. And yeah, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. We will catch you again real soon for the next one. Ciao, my friend. Remember, always eat happy foods and make food with love.